Hi YouTubers, thanks for tuning in again. I was doing some very interesting reading last night about the Stone Age. Um, One thing that I already knew that was covered in the book was that the first technologies known to man were basically used as weapons. Before that, they were used, rocks as scavenging tools. You would crack the bone and get at the marrow of what had already been killed by a top predator. But after that, you threw things, you used bones as clubs for killing things. So weapons were the first technologies. There was also a little art going on in those cave paintings and stuff like that. And those have religious implications. And that was another thing that was covered. In a more significant sense, though, I learned that Stonehenge, the massive monument on the British Isle, those stones were transported from a quarry 190 miles away, which is a huge feat of engineering, which took a lot of thinking, and it is an astonishing accomplishment considering the transportation technology of that day, which is very early. In fact, we can't even imagine how they did it. And also, the pyramids of ancient Egypt were constructed with blocks that were transported across the Nile River. We'll cover what the significance of this motivation to create those things was later in this video, but in short, it was a religion. It was an attempt to vitalize religion. But let's get back to weapons. Some tribes had more access to flint, which was flakeable. You could create a blade or an edge out of it, and brimstone. You could make fire easily with brimstone. These resources were abundant in some areas and not in others. Now, for friendly tribes, this was cool to trade with them, and trading was the primary reason which led to exploration and discovery of new regions. That's how it all started. The thing is, there were weapons embargoes, though, very early on in that age. There were organized mining operations undertaken. There's evidence for that. They loved to get flint, but they didn't want neighboring tribes to have as good of an ability to carry out violence as they did, and that's for obvious self-interest and strategic reasons. But think about this, like I saw a video, a documentary once of some people who rafted down an African river, and there was a very primitive tribe there who had nothing like you would ever see in the first world. Virtually no modern technology at all. Shelter, food was different, all that stuff. But I saw an AK-47 leaning against a tree. That's the one thing that they got from the first world, an AK-47. So think about that. Now, we say we don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. However, all these sanctions, these economic sanctions, is that really going to stop them? I don't think so. You can't stop weapons proliferation. Weapons are the first thing sought after, and they're the last thing forgotten. That technology is the last thing forgotten after a devastating war or the destruction of a culture. They're always remembered. And a columnist actually said that the Iranians are willing to eat grass in order to acquire a nuclear weapon. And frankly, I don't blame them, because it's in their strategic interest to do so if you think about actions like the Iraq War, stuff like that. Anyway, that's another story. But the point is, it's inevitable. And so what we want to do as civilized people is not to try to prolong and procrastinate this proliferation, which is gonna happen. We don't want to be in conflict. The strategy is to pacify the other tribe by arousing needs and making them economically dependent on what we have to offer. What's wrong is to arouse false needs. And the best example of that is drug addiction in America. I have two very close personal friends that I no longer communicate with because they're addicted to heroin, and they are gone. They're not dead, but we never communicate anymore simply because they are high all the time. It destroys lives and it weakens communities. Drugs are a scourge, and those are false needs. So you don't want to create false needs. You don't want to tell everyone, hey, you need this washing machine, and just take away their whole tradition of how they wash clothes already. What's the point? I mean, anyway, I'll go away from there. So peace is good. That's how you bring about peace. The thing is, there was a taboo during the exploration age, during the Stone Age. The life of a traveler was sacrosanct. It was a bad omen to kill a traveler because it would lead to a cessation of the spread of very useful goods. I mean, that was the essential reason for it. And in an information age, that makes freedom of speech, the life of the speaker, more sacrosanct, because this is the age of information. That's what drives the economy. And let's go with that. If mankind is on trial, if we're really thinking about nuclear war and we don't want it, and the truth is violence has been succeeding per capita for quite a long time, what do we have left but ideas to sell? There's things in the middle, various technologies which can improve life, but there's diminishing returns on those because there's only so much technology we need. Again, war, we've been doing it, even if we wanted it. The fact is, 20th century Europe had a male homicide death rate under 2%, while modern hunter-gatherer tribes have a male death homicide rate from 15 to 60%. Europe had 2 world wars and a Holocaust. Something to put in perspective. War is going out of style, people. So weapons are pointless, and making them just better and better is pointless. This is the age of ideas. And how should we sell ideas? Well, it's a question of balance. Novelty isn't the ultimate way to go. Adaptation is the way to go. You have to balance improvement and happiness with respecting traditions, which gets back to religion. I mean, that's what people really want. You know, think about even if those religions are gone now, Stonehenge, the pyramids, you know, those were spiritual efforts, and that's what really gets people going. Why has religion gone out of style in America? Well, it's because people either held on to theological ideas that had been disproven by scientists, you know, and so the literalism was ridiculous, and that's why nobody believes it anyway. Or the people who tried to slice and dice it to reconcile both ideas were just too slicey and dicey. They were too scientific. Nobody understands that. The thing is, if you guys harness language to use the symbolism and the metaphor in it, then you can really reinterpret things. And hopefully, I would say you could redefine what violence is, what it means to take a life, which is something I covered in another video, and I hope that you all can apply that to animal rights, but that's another story. That's all I have to say for this video. Again, please don't create false needs. They just weaken people. Goodbye.